Welcome back, episode 55, y'all. Seriously, I'm surprised they still allow us on the network.
I know, right?
I don't get this, but 50, and we got Tyler squared up in the house. You'll be referring to me as T-Dub during this episode. But this episode 50 is all about Tyler's story of strength, hope, and living with a purpose, and that's what we're just dive into. But before we get too far into the episode, I'm Tyler Willis Media. Peyton, what you got going on nowadays?
Hey guys, it's Peyton with Peyton Peoples and Company, Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners. Megan.
Hey, it's Megan with Cross Country Mortgage out of Peachtree City. Your hats and homes girl.
Yeah. And Tyler, introduce yourself, man.
Hey guys, first of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's an honor to join the all-star crew here.
Yeah.
So I'm Tyler Duffey. I work with Metro West Realty in Carrollton, Georgia. I've been in real estate for 6 years now. A little bit of my backstory, talking about hope and the journey and where you find yourself these days. I've had a lot of medical journeys in my life, starting with leukemia at 5 years old. I've had an adventure with thyroid cancer twice, skin cancer, and then most recently I had a brain tumor that was removed 3 weeks ago today. So there's been a lot of medical journeys and then just a lot of life experiences that have gotten me to where I am today, and I look forward to sharing those with you guys.
That's fantastic. We're going to dive right in. So how did that perspective on life shift? Like 5 years old, I'm dealing with this, going throughout. What does that part of the journey look like?
At 5 years old, being diagnosed with leukemia, I don't know that I fully grasped what I was going through. And then along with the medicines and the treatments that I was on, it's blurry to me, honestly. But I knew at a young age that it was a life-changing event. I felt the love and the support and the care from our community. That really, I'm a very caring person. I care about the people around me, and I care about people that are going through tough journeys as well. And I feel like that really started when I saw people rallying around me and my family at such a young age.
So then how did that look as you got older? Was from 5 to when was the leukemia piece, and then moving on to like the thyroid, the skin, like how was that?
So at 5 years old, I was diagnosed with leukemia. It was in my blood. Had about a year-long chemotherapy treatment session, and I was in remission. And when you get into that remission stage, you're going through blood testing and just making sure that it's still gone, and you get tested for a period of time. Everything was going well until it wasn't really. It came back and relapsed, and this time it was in my bone marrow. That was, I guess at that point I was 7 years old. That was 32 years ago. So I just told you how old I am. But at that point in time, bone marrow transplants weren't really a cutting edge medical technology. We were at Eggleston in Atlanta at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and they were great. But a lot of the doctors were like, hey, let's just do chemo again. There's not really any other options. Well, our personal oncologist said, look, I might catch flack for this, but there are some options, and let me help you guys look into it. We went and visited 3 hospitals around the country, and one of them being Fred Hutchinson in Seattle, the Mayo Clinic in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then Atlanta as well. We ultimately, my parents ultimately felt like Seattle was our best option. In 1994, we moved to Seattle. My brother was a perfect match to be my donor. And at that, God's blessings, really. So we moved out there, underwent full body radiation at that point to kill as much as we could. And then on June 20th that year, did the bone marrow transplant, and we were heading back home to Carrollton, Georgia by that October. But the journey was still going on there. Quite the battle inside your body when you've got good cells versus bad cells. Just there's a war inside your body at that point. Fast forward, everything was good. After that, got healthy, grew up, had that normal middle school, high school, on into college life, and everything was good. I would say it was probably my mid-20s when we found something on my thyroid gland. And the first operation, they removed the thyroid, and they thought they had everything. And a couple years later, I was living in Connecticut, working up there, and we ran some blood tests just checking my thyroid levels, and it was off again. And so went back and took out some of my lymph nodes to finally get rid of everything. Let's see, skin cancer. I'm Irish of descent. The pale skin does not do well with the sun. It runs in my family. It was one of those things I knew was probably going to be something that I had to deal with. Now, blessed that it's an easy kind. It's basal cell. It's if you're going to have skin cancer, it's the skin cancer to have. I know that sounds really weird to say. The reality is it's the easiest to treat. And then most recently, let's jump into it, was the
brain tumor.
Yeah. We finished up a 2-year journey to adopt our son in December of 2024. And that's a whole nother journey that we'll jump into at some point today. But that December day was one of the most beautiful days that we've ever had. So we get done with that, get ready for January 2025. We're setting goals as a family. From January, we're knocking it out of the park. 2025 is going to be our year. All of January was great. We were hitting our goals. And then February happened. Just run some normal blood work, and hey, my thyroid levels were messed up again. The doctor ordered a CT scan of my neck. Just a scan. You'd think probably right here. That CT scan caught something up here in my right front lobe. Did another MRI to take a deeper look at it, and the doctors determined that it was a brain tumor and told us essentially, hey, pick where you want to visit. Make sure this care team has an oncologist, neurosurgeon, neurologist, radiologist, all under one roof where, hey, you're getting cared for. You're not having to go to this other hospital for this. We had narrowed it down to UAB and Emory, and I texted my primary care, like, hey, these are the hospitals we want to visit. And as soon as I hit the send button, she called me. And I was like, this is not good. Why are you immediately calling me? She essentially told me that she had proactively made some phone calls to some oncologists here in Carrollton, and they asked about the report from the MRI. Specifically, hey, is there edema, which is swelling around the mass in his head? And the answer was yes. He was told to tell us to immediately pick which hospital we wanted to go to and go to the emergency room right then. That was a Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I looked at my wife, Mandy, and I said, we're not driving into Atlanta on Thursday at 5 o'clock.
At 5, yeah.
I said, we are hopping in the car, we're hitting I-20, and we're going to Birmingham. And really, that was the Lord helping us make that decision. The timing of it made the decision for us. So we went to the emergency room that evening, and you want to talk about a hot mess. UAB's hospital is in downtown Birmingham. Any hospital in any urban downtown is going to be an adventure. They're level 1 trauma.
Everything.
Yeah, level 1 trauma. They don't close the doors to anybody. They treat anybody that comes in. But we were there all night. They ran some tests. The neurosurgeon came in at probably 4 a.m. and said, hey, it's urgent, but it's not emergent. We need to get this done soon, but we don't have to go in right now. 2 weeks later, we were driving down to UAB to prepare for surgery. So surgery was done February 28th. So that was 3 weeks ago today. And a successful surgery. The reports that we've gotten back are great. They were able to fully remove everything, and the diagnosis after the lab reports came back said that it is a non-aggressive tumor that should not grow anymore since they got it all out. Just your normal follow-ups, getting scans for the next every 3 months for the next 2 years, just to make sure that it doesn't come back. But if you would have told me 3 weeks ago that I'd be sitting here on a podcast with you guys after a full week of being able to work regularly how I would want to, I would have told you were crazy. But I would also tell you it's not out of the realm of possibilities. God being in control. So,
absolutely.
I know,
Megan,
that's a lot.
Oh yeah, that's where we're going to dive in. Like Megan, your story kind of weaves in a little bit in here too with yours. And so what's the parallels there? between like your diagnosis and because you went off and you were secluded for a hot minute.
Yeah. Sorry. He's been through way more, but different times of our lives. But his was when he was a kid that he had the diagnosis of leukemia. Mine was October 2023, and I went through 7 months of chemo, 51 rounds, I think, including shots and pills and chemo treatments, and then the bone marrow transplant. And just like he said, we were talking before you started recording, you know, how we couldn't drive, you can't take care of yourself, you can't be alone in the hospital for a month at a time, away from family. And as a kid, the only good thing as a kid is even what Tyler said about how the treatment, like it's a blur. And I think that's like a trauma response, probably, with our bodies, you know, just responding to it. But it's full body radiation, terrible things going into your body that you can't control to kill off all the bad cells. And it leaves you feeling like you don't have control over your body. And I'm with Tyler on this. Like, the only thing I could think of is there's a plan, God's in control, and like we have to go along with the plan and get this gone.
I had someone tell me, Megan, and I think you and I have talked about it some too, is I've had people come up to me and say, man, Tyler, you're so tough. And my response to them is, you don't realize how tough you are until you're faced with something that you have no option. You have to face it head on, and you have to tackle it. That's the only option that you have.
So that's one of my biggest things, like right there, is from the diagnosis, whenever you hear the information, to how am I going to tackle it with the plan? Like, how do you mentally compartmentalize pieces? Because for me, whenever my dad was diagnosed, it was, how do we prep? Because he got hit with stage 4 lung cancer like 12 years ago. And it was just out of the whim. He fell. He went in for like just a scan to see what was going on with his back. And they found a soccer ball sized mass at the base of his spine that had metastasized from his lung down to his spine. And so it was one of those hardcore, let's hit it aggressively, let's do this. But his biggest thing was physically, he was able to get through things because of he had been going to the gym and he was prepared for what was happening. But for me as a child to hear all that, my dad has this, my dad could die, and then hearing how he was planning and he was like, this is just part of it, we're just going to get through it. And so I could never compartmentalize it as a 20 something of my dad's going through this, but he's just talking about it as it's normal life. And so that was weird as a kid of somebody that's having to deal with this, as him going, I just got to go to the hospital today for this treatment, and then having to sit with him while he's like getting on the chemo drugs and all that. And so he's like legs puffed up and all that. And but how did you deal with the mental aspect of it? Megan, you can answer this too.
I was going to say, probably Tyler's about the same answer. All I could think about was kids. They're so little. And I said this in my testimony that I gave at church. Scott doesn't know how to tie a hair bow, so like they'd be screwed. So I'm like, somebody has to be around. Like, and when they gave me, it was like 36 hours, I think, from when I went to Emory. They took all the tests, did all the things, put the port in, everything. And then 36 hours later, the oncologist, 33 years old, who's like a baby to me, walks in and says, here's the plan. And I was like, okay, let's just do it. Now that all the confusion's done, we know what it is, you know how to treat it. Like, there's the plan, let's just go. Because I'm like, long term, be around. And that was just the mindset, like, through the whole thing. And I don't know, just like Tyler, I don't know how that strength came through any other way than God. It was a 3-month process to try and figure out what the crap I had going on. And then once there was a plan, I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. So, you know, my answer depends on which event you ask me about, really. At 5 years old, as I mentioned, I didn't really fully grasp what was going on. My parents took charge, as good parents do, and made the decisions. And I didn't really have to change my mindset. It's just you go through what you go through at 5 years old and you deal with it. All the other stuff up until the brain tumor, it was just me that I had to really worry about. With the brain tumor, I've got an 11-year-old stepson, but he is my boy, and I view him as my son because that's who he is to me. And then we have a 2-year-old. Your mindset changes when kids are involved. It is, I've got to be there for them. And how do you say this? You prepare for the worst just in case. You get your will done. You get prepared just in case the worst scenario happens. But the biggest thing is staying strong in front of your kids, not showing that you're concerned, but at the same time being real with them. Yes, I'm nervous about this, but we're going to be okay. God is in control, and he will deliver us like he always has, and I have faith in that. And so many people ask me, how do you feel? How do you feel going into this? And my answer was always, I'm scared. Anytime you're going through a leukemia treatment, chemo, radiation, bone marrow transplant, or in my instance, most recently, cutting your head open, to be honest, to be completely transparent, that's what happened. You are scared, but at the same time, I was not fearful. And that feeling, I know, could only come from the Lord.
100%.
And so that's the mindset that I went into it with. 3 weeks ago, right now, I was sitting in the pre-op room in my beautiful hospital gown, just hanging out, waiting. My surgery was supposed to start at 6 a.m. It didn't start until 3 p.m.
And you're fasting the whole time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, my stomach was eating itself, Peyton.
Yeah.
Everybody asked me if you were a nervous wreck in that pre-op room waiting, weren't you? I said, honestly, I wasn't. My family and some friends were there, and they'd rotate in, coming to see me and spending time with me before. Not to get emotional with you guys, but my mom came in one time, and she could tell I was singing to myself. And she grabbed my hand, and she asked me, all right, Tyler, what are you singing? And so I started singing it to her, and it was I Trust in God. And it was just a song that I had on repeat in my head that whole time. And it's, I know we're going to dive into it, but it's a mindset. It is the mindset going into your surgery, into your operations, into the whole entire process.
Changes everything.
It does. It's going to dictate how that operation goes. It's going to dictate how your recovery goes, and it's going to dictate how you move forward afterwards.
Yes. And that right there, I kid you not, when my dad got diagnosed, they told him, you got 6 months, go ahead if there's any trips. And he looked at the doctor and was like, I got way too much life left to live.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, man, we're beating this. And so if he would have said, okay, 6 months and I'm defeated, changed the whole trajectory of every appointment. Looked at the doctor and he was like, nope.
Yeah.
and then when Megan found out her diagnosis, one of my things is when I hear someone going through what I've been through, God allowed me to go through these things to be able to connect with these people and try to make a difference in their lives and be there to support them. I picked up the phone and I called Megan and I said, and we just had a really good conversation. One of the things that I told her, I said, look, you're going to have some really hard times, but your kids need to see you strong. But when you're behind closed doors with your husband and you need to be emotional, feel those emotions. They're
Which
real.
is easier to do behind the closed door.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Up front.
Yes. There were so many mornings I was puking or whatever, and I would literally tell Scott, get the kids, like, take them away.
Don't let the kids see. Yeah. And I think being a bystander to what Megan was going through when she was going through it and talking about the mindset aspect of it. And we've mentioned this a lot in other ways, but you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so the people that are surrounding you when you're fighting these battles shape what that battle is going to look like for you. So if you have somebody, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if there's somebody close to you that is a naysayer, or they're not on the same train of let's keep a positive mindset, we're moving forward, this is what we're doing. And not to say that you need people who are never going to let you be emotional, because you need to have the safe people. But if you're a naysayer, get out.
Yes. Not today.
Get off the train.
Not today.
Yeah.
So would you say on the hardest days, like your family and faith is what kept you going.
100%. Absolutely. Without faith and family and friends, wouldn't have made it through. And I'll take it a step further. It's we're all in the real estate mortgage industry here. I had this community rally around me more than you could have ever imagined. It was, Mandy and I talk about it all the time, how blessed we are to have the support system that we have. And that's faith, that's family, friends, and as Peyton said, the people that you surround yourself with.
Amen to that. Literally, it was the day I was going to the hospital and didn't know I was going to be there a month. I was on the phone with Peyton throwing crap in a bag, and on the way to the hospital, she calls, "Hey, I've already got a website for you. Just let me know when you want to go." And I'm like, the people, what you said is so true. It's a community. It's just, and you really see people's true colors, when you're going through something like this. Like the people that truly care step in.
Yes.
Yes.
And I will say this to you, Megan. You being the person that you are determines how people are going to rally around you.
Yeah.
And that's why you're loved. And that's why you receive the support that you do when you're going through hard times like this. If you're, how do I say, let's just not beat around the bush. If you're a jerk that treat people wrong, you're going to get the, "Hey, I'll pray for you" responses. But we get more than that because we care about people too. Not to toot my horn, but that's who I am. That's who you are.
No, I know.
And if you weren't, you wouldn't have had the support that you have and still have right now.
It's so true.
Truth.
Hey, here's one for you and Megan. So what's something that you appreciate now that you have probably taken for granted before the diagnosis or before the treatments? What's something that you appreciate more now?
As a simple thing, I used to get frustrated with daycare and school drop-offs, getting ready, getting up early, getting them whatever. Hannah's little attitude. She doesn't want to get dressed at 6:30 a.m. in a freaking pants instead of a dress, and not this bow but that bow. I used to get really irritated. And now I'm like, it's fine. Yell at me, scream at me, kick at me. It's fine because I still get to do it.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Although today was challenging.
Well, yes, there's still going to be those challenging days where my wife, she has been such a trooper. She had to take 2 weeks off after my surgery and take care of me. The first week was really her just taking care of me. The second week was her telling me, "Hey, slow yourself down. And no, you can't drive yet. The doctor hasn't cleared you. Hey, why are you doing so much work? You need to slow down. You need to go rest." We have a 2-year-old. So the first 2 weeks, I couldn't pick him up. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't help get him to bed. I couldn't change his diapers. I couldn't do what a father needed to do for his toddler. And now I can. Now I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, let me change your diaper. Let me pick you up. Let me put you to bed." Just the simple things that normally would be like, "Gosh, dude, I got to change your diaper again? Man, why are you crying? Why won't you just go to bed?"
Yeah.
But now buddy, it's okay. I'm going to hold you until you're not crying anymore, and we're going to get you to bed, and you're going to have a good night. It's just the simple things that honestly would annoy you, or just the mundane things of life that you just appreciate so much more. And a strong spouse for me is one of the biggest things.
I'd even venture to say CrossFit was huge for me before. Is I think God's way of saying, get your body together because you're about to go to battle. And now I'm like, and I used to complain. I pay for it. I pay to feel sore, and I would literally complain through it every time. And now I'm like, I get to go. I get to go work out. I get to do this. And I mean, it's little things like that. Everyday life.
I get to drive now.
Yeah.
See?
That was freedom too after 100
independence.
days after the bone marrow transplant.
Yeah. Yep.
So for me, I'm just going to just throw this one in there. After college, I moved back home and lived for a little while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life, and that's when my dad was diagnosed. And so the one thing that I appreciate now, looking back on it, I was always like, man, I'm like 21. Why am I living back home with my parents? And the one thing I appreciate now is all the little small conversations I got to have with my dad, like at nighttime, because he was a doctor. So he taught me how to help flush his legs at nighttime from all the lymphatic like buildup. And so like I had to massage his legs at nighttime to help with that fluid. And so it was just in those little moments that I now look back on and appreciate. I got to spend all this extra time with him during all that. And so it's like I get to like whenever somebody is going through that, and now in our phase of life, I can be like, if your parents are going through this, or like, how do you explain this to your kids? And just be like, hey, you just appreciate the conversations. So if a parent calls, answer the phone to them, call them as often as you can, because you just never know when they're going to be gone. And so those are the things that I appreciated now looking back on it, is the 20, 30 minutes at nighttime that I got to spend with him every night after a treatment. So let's see. Peyton, you got any from our list?
I mean, the big thing I was wanting to ask was, how do you feel like your experience has changed your approach just to life, relationships, career? I know you have to, it sounds like you're a workaholic like the rest of us. Like you're driven by doing things. How difficult was that in your journey to have your wife look at you and say, you need to rest. You need to stop. You need to stop doing things for other people and you need to focus on you. Because I know for me, I fill my cup by doing things for other people. So whenever I can't do that, I feel like I'm not being productive or I'm not being helpful, or so it's hard to switch. So what did that look like for you?
First of all, I think that if you're in this industry and you're not a goer and a doer, you're probably getting left behind. So that's hard to turn off. The first week after my operation, first week after an operation like I had, you're not feeling like doing anything. The second week, I started to get that itch, that cabin fever, that, hey, I need to get back to work. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. But really, the second week after my surgery, and it was hard for me to admit, and I even admitted it to one of my sellers. I told him, and he's a good friend of mine. I told him, I said, things are not easy for me right now. I said, things that I'm used to being able to do in 30 minutes take me a couple hours, because my mind had to intentionally work through things, and it wasn't as easy as it used to be. So having to admit some of those things. But what are some of the adjustments that I'm making? We all know in this industry as well that you have to protect your time with your family. If the first time you pick up the phone at 8:30 at night with a new client, they're going to expect you to pick it up every time at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yes, and even more so now. My priorities, work is a very big priority for me, but family is my number 2 priority. My number 1 priority is my walk with the Lord. Protecting that time with my family and saying, look, this can, as T-Dub said, those memories that you make with your family are very precious, and you need to enjoy those because you don't know when they're going to get taken from you. And these moments that Megan and I have faced recently really show you that. It's okay. My 2-year-old or my 11-year-old want to go and do this, but I've got to do this for work. You know what? There are no emergencies in real estate.
Say it again, Tyler. Say it again.
Yes.
My client can wait for another hour or two.
That's right.
For me to go jump on the trampoline, which I hate doing because I broke my leg on a trampoline in 7th grade. But I'll go jump on the trampoline with my 11-year-old because he wants to. And then I can tackle work. Reprioritizing even more so than I already did for the things that are just of the utmost importance for me.
Man, it sounds like we've talked about that before. I don't know.
I might have watched your last podcast.
Yeah.
Peyton, I'm pretty sure that there are no emergencies in real estate was one of your quotes.
That's right. There are none. So say it again. Put it on a t-shirt.
Yep. Your story was, I think, that you actually had one of your listings burning to the ground.
Yeah, literally on fire. Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the only kind of real estate emergency.
Yes.
Or I had one that the basement water pipe busted while I was at a shoot. That was an emergency, but that was at the shoot.
Yeah.
So,
yikes.
like, the biggest piece of advice pre-diagnosis self. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice that you've learned after the treatments, what would it be?
Megan, if you have an answer, I'll let you go first.
Appreciate what you have now. Don't wait till after you've gone through the crap we have. Appreciate the crying. Appreciate the screaming of kids. Appreciate the little inconveniences. Because life's too short, obviously.
Yep. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I'll also say, I think in everybody's walk of life, finances are one of the biggest stressors. In our industry, the beauty is we get to set our own parameters of what success looks like and determine our definition of success. My definition of success might be different than what y'all's is. I view my success as, what am I providing for my family? Are they taken care of? Am I pouring into my sons? Am I pouring into my marriage with Mandy? I think it's quit looking at the numbers. It is, like you said, appreciate the crying, appreciate the daily struggles that we have, because they're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. And we can't take money with us when we're gone. Quit stressing about the things that are not of the utmost importance.
I know that throughout Megan's journey, she's really been inspired to start a nonprofit. So I know, Megan, if you want to share about that, I would love to hear you talk about that. But Tyler, if you've been inspired to do anything in response to, even if it's not something that started, just something that you're hoping to do. I'd love for you guys to share about that.
Tyler, you go.
Hey, you've got something in the works already, so why don't you share about what you've got going on, and then I'll tell you my response and where I'm moving forward with everything.
Sure. It's in the very beginning stages, but I am starting a nonprofit called Project RX Orange to help cancer patients or family members of cancer, whatever they're battling, in CrossFit gyms all across the United States. Because, like you said, it's a lot of people don't even realize the financial aspect of this side that you go through, and the stress that you're already battling with your body and your mind and everything. And then you throw in financial stuff, which last time for this lung test I went in, he goes, "You realize you have this balance?" And I'm like, "I know."
Ignore.
Yeah.
Like, can I set up a payment plan?
Right.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, you get $25 a month for the next 100 years.
Right.
But people don't realize that side of it. And even if it's something like an inconvenience that we can help with, like kids, like you go to CrossFit, your kid's birthday, you don't know how you're going to pay for it because you're dealing with, you can't work, or a family member can't work, off work, or like in my husband's experience, he got fired twice when I was going through it. So it's like the little things, even if we can help pay an electric bill or whatever, it's obviously not going to be thousands and thousands of dollars each time, but if it's something small like that, just to be able to help with, that's what I'm starting it for.
That's amazing. Kudos to you. And what you've gone through to make a difference in others' lives is, I fully believe, why the Lord allows, notice I say allows us through, but he allows us to go through things. Was it James 1 talks about, consider it pure joy when you're faced with trials and tribulations, for he's preparing you for what you're about to walk through. And so you're allowing that to work through you. So proud of you. For me, taking that a step further, I feel like the Lord has given me a platform to be able to share my journey with others. I am actually in the works of starting a podcast as well. It's going to be called Back to Our Roots. So it's going to be focused on your foundation. What motivates you? What have you gone through that is a motivator for you? Focusing on mentorships. Who is a mentor? What do you take with you? And ultimately, what has built your success? So that's one thing. But then also just sharing my testimony and my story and being able to reach out to people like Megan when they're going through things. That is the biggest thing for me, is to, I've gone through the things that I've gone through because I fully believe it's gives me the ability to connect with people that are going through the same things. There's nothing that is more beneficial when you're going through something than to connect with somebody that has gone through it and that can seriously sit there and tell you, Megan, it's not going to be easy, but here are some of the things that you're going to face. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything along the way that I can step up and step next to you and walk out with you, I'm here for you. And that's what I have taken since I was 5 years old up until now, and I'm going to continue doing, because that is what I feel is God's calling in my life. Yes, I'm a realtor. That's what I do for work to provide for my family, but that's not who you are. It's not who I am. It's not who I am, and I don't want to ever be identified by what I do for work.
That's what I totally lost track of what I was going to say. I still call it chemo brain because I'm like,
look, yeah. I was going to say it, but I didn't want.
I know.
It's chemo brain.
It's real.
It is real. It's like pregnancy brain, but on steroids.
It is real.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when I was going through it, like, there would be days I couldn't even, and Scott still laughs at me because I'm like, what is this word? And he'll say it, and I'm like, yes, but it's still stupid crap like that I can't even remember or like process or whatever. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Shoot, that's me.
It's frustrating, but you also have to give yourself grace and remember, hey, I beat cancer, and this is a side effect of the treatments that I had to go through to be where I am today for myself and for my family.
Tell me that. I need that on recording. So, like, when I'm at CrossFit, I'm trying to get a PR. Like, I don't get pissed. Like,
hey, I remember a year and a half ago I could do this with ease, but I can't now.
Yeah. Yep. This morning I went at 6 a.m. and I'm like, why can't I bench press that? Like, I can't.
Perspective.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. To wrap it up, I got just a couple more, maybe just one, since we're running short on time. So, how can people connect with you and support causes that are important to you? So, some stuff here, especially the Back to Our Roots podcast coming up. So, make sure to follow that once it's out there live. But what are some other ways that people can connect with you?
If you can't find our information on social media, we're not doing a good job of putting ourselves out there in our industry.
Say it again.
If you can't figure out how to connect with me or Megan or T-Dub or Peyton, we're doing a bad job of promoting ourselves. Social media. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. You're going to find my cell phone number. You're going to find my email address. You're going to find links to my other social media. When my podcast comes out, there's going to be another social media page, and we all link everything together. So if you can find one thing, you can find the other thing.
Not everything.
And I will just say this: if you have an inkling of, hey, I really need to reach out to Tyler, or I need to reach out to Megan, or any of us, really, if there is something that you're going through that, hey, I just want to talk, do it. Find us and talk to us, because that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. Real estate, okay, yep, we'll talk real estate all day long. But as I said, that's not our identity. We want to be here for people.
Man. Love it.
all the t-shirt slogans. I am here for this today.
I know. I wish I was taking notes. I'm gonna have to go back and watch our own recording.
I know,
Go
right?
back and be like, "Oh yeah, I had that really good idea."
Yeah.
Go ahead and get our Shopify started.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shop
Start
tag
that shop.
here. Yep.
Love it.
We need that
But
passive
Tyler,
income
thank you
on the
so
side,
much.
don't we?
That's it'd be nice. That'd be real nice. But Tyler, thank you so much, man, for coming and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys and everything that y'all do and having me on today.
For sure. But guys, that wraps it up. Episode 50. I don't know how we're going to top that one, but we got to figure out something.
50. That was top tier.
Hey, that's an accomplishment for you guys to celebrate. 50 episodes and people are still watching and listening. Kudos to you guys. Good job.
For sure. 50 episodes of having to listen to us. That's right. Yeah, big 50. You drop yours on our 50. Hello. That's going to be a fun one.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But thank you guys, episode 15. And stick around to see what the summer season that we're about to have and all that jazz. We'll catch y'all next time.